IVM.
Hey everybody, welcome to another amazing week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you aren't following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We'd like to thank our sponsors this week, Paytm Money, for supporting the network. Guys, you should definitely check out some of the content that we're doing recently, which is somewhat COVID-related. Pavan's been doing an awesome job on the Pragati Podcast. All Thing Policy has also got a tremendous number of really great episodes about what's going on and the impact. We talk about this stuff on Cyrus Says, especially in the Cock and Bull episodes. On Advertising Instead, Varun's had a couple of episodes where he's spoken about the impact of this, as is Karthik on the Filter Coffee podcast. And across the network, definitely do check it out. I'm sure you'll enjoy yourself. And with that, let's get you to your show.
BQ Big Decisions, the Bloomberg Quint podcast that helps you make the right financial choices. Hello, and thanks for listening in. This is BQ Big Decisions, and I'm Alex Matthew. You know, if there's one positive outcome from this lockdown, it's that I've been cooking a lot more. I feel like I've gone up a level or two, you know. I even managed to make a biryani the other day. And funnily enough, a biryani would be the perfect analogy to explain what we're talking about today. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me first introduce my guest, Mrin Agarwal, financial planner and educator. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Alex.
Now, Mrin, I suppose we shouldn't be too surprised, but there have been a lot of redemptions from fixed income mutual fund schemes over the past few days. And all of this, of course, stems from the winding down of the 6 fixed income schemes from Franklin Templeton. We've discussed the reasons why that happened and the likely impact on the mutual fund industry in 2 conversations that we had last week. But this week, I'd like to talk about strategy, something that savvy investors practice already and something that could hold you in good stead in the future. Mrin, we were discussing this when we spoke earlier today about the big learnings from this entire fiasco. And you pointed out that there is a need to have a core allocation and a tactical allocation when you're pursuing a financial goal. What's that all about?
When you're building up your portfolio, there are 2 things that you need to do. One is divide your money whereas among different asset classes, like, for example, bonds, equities, gold, etc. And the other thing is that within that asset class, you need to have diversification. Within that asset class, you need to be diversified among a couple of funds. So what we find is that people choose these funds based on returns, but what you need to have is that you need to have a core portfolio of funds, and these are like funds which you have chosen as per your risk profile, which you're going to hold for up to your goal, basically. And at the same time, if you have the appetite for it and you feel that I can invest some amount of this allocation into a riskier investment so that I can pump up my returns over the long term, then you choose a different set of funds, which is known as a tactical allocation. So the whole idea is that you have your core set of funds that you've invested for your goals. And then, again, based on your risk appetite and the need to basically grow your portfolio, you choose some funds which are meant for tactical allocation. So now, for example, if we look at the Templeton funds, these were actually tactical allocation funds because these were basically credit risk funds. So they were investing in bonds which were lower rated. This cannot be your core allocation because let's say you have a 3-year goal and you want the money after 3 years. You cannot be stuck in a fund like this, which could be volatile. So what we're seeing right now is the people whom they've lent money to are not able to pay back. And so if you as an investor, for example, invested for a 3-year goal and you're stuck in this situation right now, then that's not a very good situation to be in. So you need to have your core allocation, and if you feel that I want to pump up my returns and I'm able to take the risk and the volatility, then you do a tactical allocation into a certain set of funds. And obviously core allocation has to be much larger than the tactical allocation.
So I think, Mrin, the analogy that I was talking about right at the start of this conversation, that's the biryani analogy, I think that makes a lot of sense in this particular context, because when you're making biryani or anything else for that matter, you need to have a certain amount of rice, you need to have a certain amount of the other things, and the masala, the thing that really gives you that taste of the biryani, it has to be a certain portion of the entire mix. And if you go overboard with the masala, then you're not going to have a very tasty biryani at the end of it, right? So I think the kicker here, or the tactical allocation, can be talked about in terms of the masala. So you're not going to put too much, you're just going to have enough to make it into biryani.
Yeah.
Okay. So enough of the cooking analogies here, but let's talk about, is this an approach that you have for each goal, or is it something that you do on the portfolio level?
I think you can think of it at a portfolio level or at a goal level. I mean, both work basically. So let me give you an example. Let us say that you have a goal which is 15 years away. Now, you might be a very moderate investor. So you might say that even for 15 years, I just want to put money into a balanced fund. But there could be a small allocation that you might do towards this particular goal into a mid-cap or a small-cap fund to say that over a longer period of time, mid-caps and small-caps do give better returns. So let me put some money there. So I think it's easier to track it on a goal level than at a portfolio level, because there might be certain goals where you don't want to take this sort of tactical allocation. Like, for example, let's say you're saving for the down payment of a house, which is 5 years away. And so the two options that you have is that you could look at a debt fund, or you could look at maybe some allocation into a balanced fund. But you may just decide that, no, I'm just better off with the debt fund. So I think it obviously makes more sense to just do it at a goal level.
So the other question I had, Mrin, with regard to this tactical allocation is that, is it entirely dependent on your risk profile? Is there a percentage that you have to bear in mind?
It's entirely dependent on your risk profile, and there's no particular thumb rule to say that how much should be tactical and how much should be core. But certainly I believe that tactical allocation should not be more than 10-15%, honestly.
Okay, that's a good, at least a good thumb rule to follow. And in this situation, of course, it all boils down, like you said, to the risk profile. And what you do is you need to consult with a financial advisor to understand what your risk profile is, because there are tests that you can take. We've actually discussed this, Mrin, incidentally, on a BQ Big Decisions podcast, how to understand your risk profile and why it is so important. But what you're essentially saying in this regard is that the old rules stay in this case, right? When it comes to choice of assets, for goals that are less than 5 years away, you go for debt investments. And for goals that are more than 5 years away, you go for equity investments. But even within that, you need to have a core and tactical allocation. So let's take a scenario where you have a requirement for debt allocation, right? Where your goal is about 3 years away or a little over 3 years away. How would you go about the allocation for that in an ideal situation?
So ideally, I would allocate that to short-term debt funds. Now, if you look at within the debt funds category, there are actually 16 categories of funds. And it is my belief that most of these categories are actually not suitable for individual investors. And I think there are only 5 categories that are suitable. Of course, you have the overnight funds, which is for a very short term. And then you have the ultra short term and the low duration funds, which are really meant for periods of like less than 3 years. So basically 3 months to 3 years. And then you have the short term funds. Now, in my experience, I have not found if you look at from a longer term perspective, in my experience, I have seen that the short term funds actually give the best risk adjusted returns. And that is why for periods above 3 years, I tend to only recommend the short-term funds. So now, since the goal is for 3 years, the choice would be short-term funds. Of course, you have the options of credit funds and you have dynamic bond funds and all of those funds as well. But I would say that as a core allocation, I would just stick to short-term funds. And as a tactical allocation, I may consider, depending on what the view is, I might decide to either go in for a dynamic bond fund or a credit fund. So I might decide to do a credit fund, because I believe that I could get a higher return there. But then, when you are doing tactical allocation, you have to really study the current market situation very well. And, what is it that is being expected? And I'm not 100% sure that, individual investors, especially DIY investors, can do that. So I'll give another example of what you could do. Like, you could decide that I will choose only short-term debt funds for the entire allocation. But within the short-term debt fund space, you have some funds which invest only in AAA bonds. You have some funds which do take some amount of allocation to government securities. So what you could do is that take a combination of funds there. So some which are ultra conservative or conservative, and take one fund, which could be slightly more aggressive in the short term space. So you have funds which have, let's say, a 25% allocation to gilt. That will be a more aggressive short term fund, right? So within the same short term fund category, you could just decide to choose mainly funds as per your risk profile, and then choose one aggressive short-term fund.
Because, Mrind, this is exactly what I think some of my peers have spoken about over the last week, is that the regulations required mutual funds to have different buckets based on the duration of the papers that they were holding, but there was no restriction based on the quality of the paper that they were holding, which is what the primary problem in this Franklin Templeton case was that they had a large number of papers that were AA or less, which is why they had a problem in terms of liquidity. So I also wanted to ask you on this conversation, when you're actually going out to choose a fixed income scheme, what are the things that you need to bear in mind to ensure that you don't fall into a similar problem? Because I think people would have been buying into the ultra short-term Franklin Templeton scheme thinking, hey, what's the problem here? But actually that was one of the schemes that was wound down as well.
Yes. So as you correctly said, the credit quality of the portfolio is really important. And many times people look at the schemes and saying, oh, this is giving me a 1% extra return, so might as well put my money here. But they don't look at the risk associated. So it's very important. Point number one, you do need to check the credit quality of the scheme. For a retail investor who doesn't know what this means, it is basically seeing the amount of AAA holding that the fund has. Each fund fact sheet has this information clearly listed out. Other than that, you also need to consider the yield to maturity or the YTM of the funds and the expense ratio. Now, all this while, people have essentially chosen funds, maybe going also by the pedigree of the fund house and looking at the returns. But I think the time has really come for people to spend much more time on their product choices, because at the end of the day, that's what's, you could have the right asset allocation, but then within that, if you choose the wrong products, your asset allocation is also going to go for a toss. So choosing the right allocation is not enough. You also have to make the right product choices, for which you also need to spend some time researching or, talking with your financial planner as to why is that person recommending this particular scheme. And as far as debt funds are concerned, as I said, the credit quality, the yield to maturity and expense ratio. Now, if you do a comparative analysis of the yield to maturity and expense ratio, you would find most of them would be within a range. And I think a simple thing for all investors would be to say that if there is a scheme which is really out of the range, maybe we should not be choosing this particular scheme. So, those are like simple things that it's like saying, okay, if you have scheduled commercial banks and you have cooperative banks and you keep the cooperative ones away for your FDs, right? So you say, I don't want to go with those cooperative banks. I only want to go with the scheduled commercial banks. So that could be a way to kind of, for individual investors who do not have much investment knowledge, to actually figure out which is the right fund to get into.
Very simply on this yield to maturity point, in case some of my listeners are unfamiliar with the term, it's essentially if you were to buy a corporate bond today and if you were to hold it till the time that it matures, the yield that you get, suppose they're offering you a coupon of 8%, that 8% would be the yield to maturity. Now, very simply, if you are an individual borrower who is not very creditworthy, when you go to the bank to borrow money, the bank will obviously ask you to pay a higher rate of interest. And that same concept is applicable when it comes to corporates as well. So you would have lower rated corporates or corporates that are not very creditworthy paying a large amount of interest or a higher rate of interest for the money that they borrow. So a higher yield to maturity is a telltale sign of a lower quality portfolio. And that's something that should be a red flag, right, Min?
Yes.
All right. So I think that more or less covers the choice of, a fixed income scheme. And also, I think that covers the strategy in terms of building a portfolio, which really is 9/10 of the rule, right?
Yes. Yes.
All right, Min. I think that covers most of the aspects that we wanted to cover. And I think it's been a very informative conversation. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Always a pleasure to be on BQ Podcast with you, Alex.
And to you, dear listener, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you as well. I hope this conversation helped you out. Just wanted to remind you there's a lot more that you can read, view, and listen to on the website as well. So do check that out. That's BloombergQuint.com. Thanks so much for listening. This is Alex Matthews signing off. Have a great weekend.
If you enjoyed Big Decisions, check out some other podcasts on the IVM Podcast Network. You can check out Paisa Vaisa, hosted by Anupam Gupta, Advertising is Dead, hosted by Varun Dugirala, the Ronnie Screwvala podcast, hosted by Ronnie Screwvala, or Cyrus Says, hosted by Cyrus Procha. These shows are available on the IVM Podcast website, app, or wherever you get your podcasts from.
Advertising is dead. Yep, you heard me right. Advertising is dead. We're all in the content business now. Let's not call it news, TV, radio, etc., etc. It's all content, and we're in the middle of this weirdly exciting phase where all the borders and lines that have been drawn over decades has been swept away by this lovely thing called the internet. We're a show where we don't dwell on just the stuff that is now, but rather the wider stuff about advertising, media, content, and the whole goddamn circus surrounding it. Tune in every Tuesday for our weekly unboxing of the mystery box we used to call advertising. I'm Varun Dugirala, co-founder and content chief at The Glitch, and this is my new podcast, Advertising is Dead.
Look! Up in the internet! It's a meme! No! It's a cat video! No! It's the Geek Fruit Podcast!
That's right, we interrupt this riveting broadcast to tell you about our show, The Geek Fruit Podcast, where Tejas, Dinkar, and I, Jishnu, talk about everything in pop culture, including DC, Marvel, Star Wars, Netflix, and everything in between.
You know how your friends hate it when you ramble about some nerdy crap and you just want somebody to listen to you? Well, sorry, there's nothing we can do about that, but come listen to us ramble and it'll almost be like the real thing. Kind of.
Listen to new episodes of the Geek Fruit Podcast every Monday and the Geek Fruit Bulletin every Thursday on iTunes, Google Podcasts, the IVM app, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Happy listening, you nerds.